She made the sign of the cross. Then she blessed herself. Had she possessed holy water, she would have thrown it on Tracie Burlingame, the whole lot of it. What this woman contained in her spirit was unnatural. It was downright ungodly. "There will be hell to pay," she muttered, not realizing that she had spoken the words aloud. Anita Lily Mae Young backed away from Tracie Burlingame. "Don't come back. You hear, girl?" She spat. Her jaw was swollen with a wad of tobacco. She promptly swallowed it. She pointed her finger in Tracie's face to make her point clear. "Don't you be coming back here to me, girl. I mean it." She glowered at Tracie through beady eyes, which glowed with a strange light. Then the petite, turban-headed, brightly dressed woman turned away, abandoning her table on the street. Anita sprinted through the crowded street. She muttered words Tracie didn't understand. The words Anita had spoken earlier were the ones that echoed in the chambers of Tracie's mind. "Don't you be coming back here to me, girl. I mean it." What had Anita thought she'd seen? She'd been a fixture on Harlem streets for 25 years, peddling her psychic predictions. Never had she been known to act this queer. Besides, no one ever really took her seriously. Did they? "Stupid old bag," Tracie thought to herself as she fumed at the audacity of the woman pointing her finger in her face. She looked at the crystal ball, which, strangely enough, was emanating a black stream of light. It should have been reflecting the colors of the rainbow on this sunny day. She ignored it, turning her attention to the cards that Anita had left behind on the table. Through no will of her own, unable to stop herself, she flipped one over. It was the ace of spades. The card beckoned to her. It throbbed with life. Tracie shivered. Although the heat was oppressive, the humidity was as thick as a blanket. She blinked and looked down at the card again. There it lay placidly on the table. Tracie knew that the ace of spades represented death. She was not by nature a suspicious person. This was ludicrous. It was ridiculous, she told herself. She was just paranoid. That stupid old woman must have spooked her. Maybe she wanted to get more money out of her by getting her to stop by again. But she'd told her not to come back. Tracie laughed at the absurdity of the situation. Standing on a crowded Harlem street, she suddenly felt very alone. "What a bunch of nonsense," she uttered. Gathering her wits about her, she finally left the table. She tossed her hair back, held her head up high, and strolled down the street, donning her black Fendi sunglasses. Those who witnessed the fiasco watched her strangely. Tracie Burlingame was a mythical, ancient, haunting patchwork quilt. She passed along Harlem's crowded sidewalk with the past, the present, the future, and multiples of black patches cast and gathered together in her being. But only those with the vision could see it. The dim streetlights cast shadowy, blurry streaks of light in the small room of the decaying Harlem building. The air was tight, humid, sweltering. It smelled like old mildew mingled with the smell of feces. Human feces. A strangled, gurgling sound caused the small child to cover its ears. The sight and smell of death layered itself over the room, a thick coating of it. The beaten, withered man in the corner coughed. He looked at the child he could not help. He beheld the child for a last time as the light of life drained from his eyes. All over a horse and a dollar bill. The men who had been sent to administer the beating laughed. They were small-time street hoodlums. The dying man was a notorious gambler who had ducked out on one debt too many. Grayson Mounds, who controlled all the gambling activities in this part of Harlem, had ordered the hit after discovering he was not to be paid once again. When he spoke, it was done. So Joe had played his last horse. They kicked him a last time for good measure. Briefly, they considered the child. Then they discarded any idea of dealing with the child themselves. They left the room. There was no threat. The child was too young to tell anybody a thing. The whimpering child crawled over to the leftover carnage of the human being on the floor and put out a small hand to touch Joe's face. Instantly, the small hand was covered in a red, slippery substance. That was when it happened. It was a tiny, rushed explosion of a microcosm, separating, splitting off into different beings. An open vessel for the domination of spirits. The child could no longer emotionally inhabit this space where it had witnessed a man being beaten to death, tortured, and torn apart. No, it would leave this place for safer ground, take flight and journey into a different realm. It was a realm the average human being would never cross. Along the way, it would satisfy its hunger and lust for the red, slippery substance. 3 days later, when the child and the remains of the man were found, the child sat happily slurping from a bottle of soured milk. The child was a true orphan now, because its mother had died some time ago from poverty and a broken heart. It was just as well, because this child's existence would not be predicated on human emotions. The scene the child had just experienced would mold and create its future. It was the last nail in a coffin that would cripple as well as rule what would become a shell of a human being on the outside, and nothing but pure black malevolence salivating on the inside. In the absence of spirit, there would be only darkness. Tracie Burlingame. Her eyes were like a chameleon. They would change from a clear brown to shades of green and sometimes gray, depending on her mood, in the flash of a second. Occasionally, they looked like pools of midnight black. Tracie Burlingame was not your ordinary around-the-way woman. Nope. She walked to the beat of a different drummer. He played a rhythm that only she could hear, and she never missed a beat. Tracie Burlingame was born and bred in Harlem. She was 38 years old, sometimes going on the age of 2, and sometimes going on 90. It all depended on which way the wind was blowing at the time. On this day, it was blowing due east, as an agile, sensual, arrogantly proud Tracie ran alongside the traffic with a weight in each hand. On her right side, the water stretched beneath the parkway. Her hair was windblown. She had a controlled, determined look on her face. A few days ago, she had visited and toyed with the old psychic up on 125th Street, but she refused to let that witch Anita crawl underneath her skin with her dour predictions. She should never have stopped there anyway. She had been raised in Christianity, though she was not a regular practitioner. Heck, she wasn't an attendee in any sense of the word these days, but she knew better than to sample and frolic with the devil's wares. However, she had been bored. She thought it would be a kick to toy with the old woman and play her games. Now she wished she hadn't. Still, she wasn't going to let it get to her. Nor would she let the fact that she had drawn the ace of spades on her own bother her. It was just a card. Her life was a happy one with her boys. Well, maybe with the exception of Rashad. He had spread his doom. But still, she was happy, and she intended to keep it that way. The devil be damned. Tracie halted, breathing deeply. She warmed up with her calisthenics. She stretched and pulled with the agility of a colt. She ran again when she was done with the brutal mechanics of her workout regime. Her workout was enough to knock out a horse. She paced herself through makeshift hurdles, over rocks, tree stumps, and overturned garbage cans. Anything Tracie could hurl herself over was fair game. Then she ran, full speed ahead, eyes focused, adrenaline pumping. The muscles in her legs worked like a mountain climber's. Her feet dashed through the streets of Harlem,